Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, we caught up with Herlock Sholmes in a wax museum, where he's trying to solve the mystery of what the hell happened here. And what indeed, it seems that a prized wax statue got stolen and is being held for ransom, and the proprietor of the place, Madame Two-Spells here, who is dressed like a wizard and completely owning her name, was just walking out the door with 200 pounds in her bag. But we're only halfway through helping fix Herlock Sholmes' great deductions, so let's continue. And hopefully he won't skip out before he gets to explaining everything about what happened to Barak van Zieks that turned him into such a sourpuss. Anyway, the question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway.
A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by the Scotland Yard.
That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away.
Well, uncovering secrets is in any true detective's nature, of course.
Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Two-Spells' reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Yeah, I'm thinking it's, Yeah, this guy's the wax statue. He's got a missing arm right there. Huh. He's got a cool hat. I've seen hats like this in Japan as well. They're called flat caps, aren't they?
Yes, or hunting caps. Hurley's hat is called a deerstalker, by the way.
Hunting? Stalking? The British certainly seem keen on catching game. Every time I see a deerstalker, I automatically think of Mr. Sholmes. But a flat cap makes me think of a Japanese country gentleman somehow. In other words, people from all walks of life wear all different types of hats, so that doesn't really help us. A secret scarf sign to warn other agents of an ongoing crime.
I know! It sounds so thrilling, doesn't it? Maybe I'll try to work it into my next month's installment.
But then the police's secret will be revealed to all of London's 6 million inhabitants.
Well, they'll just have to come up with a new sign, I suppose.
How does this 10-year-old manage to have such a terrifying influence? What the... The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be.
Ah, well, that settles that then.
Right, this isn't a real person at all.
His entire arm has been ripped off from the shoulder down.
His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out.
Take that!
Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth, of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes.
He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man.
Naturally, what other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork.
But you...
Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. A killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known?
It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money.
Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrideb's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? A waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200. Is this crusty old killer policeman Ottermole? Really?
Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up.
Oh, he has a nervous twitch. Yeah, as I thought, this man's real. £3. It's a far cry from £200, isn't it?
For £3, you could buy it and put it on display in your room, Runo.
I think I'd rather not go to sleep being watched by an old man if it's all the same to you.
This price tag does stand out, doesn't it? I mean, you couldn't even buy the helmet on his head for that much money, I don't think.
I wonder what the price tag's really for, then. I don't believe it. It's the secret sign that lets other detectives know... Oh,
it's the secret sign that lets other detectives know some criminal activity is underway.
Yes. It's a slightly strange choice of outfit if he was trying to go unnoticed.
He must be a detective disguised as a policeman.
Or a detective disguised as a waxwork model of a policeman.
He doesn't look like he's clever enough to think of something like that, though.
Oh my god. Perhaps you should try to be a little more polite about him, Iris. Look at this. The old man's tapping his foot like crazy.
He seems to be fast asleep, though.
He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. So you mean...
It must be a twitch.
Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap their feet.
Or twitch.
And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we?
Take that!
The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, the splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Oh, splendid. Now the politeness piles on, huh? Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Two Spells?
Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He is clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep.
But then, what's this tag about showing the price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by the detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway.
Of course, because As you know, there has been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective.
So, it would seem that we finally arrive at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes's great detection of this horrifying puzzle.
Hooray, we did it!
Still a mystery. Deduction complete. Elementary.
Yeah! All sorts of people visit my museum here, men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway.
Oh, she twirls.
Your great detection was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe.
She loves it. It was a pleasure, my dear madame. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted.
Yes, tragically it was.
Then I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork. In as much detail as possible, if you please.
Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work.
The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Fair enough. Anything new to say? Yeah, some new stuff. It's just a collapsed man.
At least it turned out he's not one of the mass murderer's victims.
True, but he is one of the waxwork's victims in a way, isn't he?
He's not showing any signs of life.
Because he really is dead?
Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels.
Objection! I think we partially read that already. But yeah, we can look at this guy. These models are so well made, I can't tell what's waxwork and what's a real human.
That's how Hurley gets away with making himself a temporary exhibit for the day.
Maybe there are other people posing as exhibits in here then.
Or maybe all the exhibits are real people.
And when it's closing time, yeah, we read this. Why is it shown as new? Well, better safe than sorry. So, spill the beans, lady. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please.
It was some days ago now when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place.
The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then.
So this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose? Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor.
What? Layton would do no such thing. How dare you question a gentleman's honor?
Not a name I've heard of.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Oh, no way. No way, is this going where I think it is? Sorry?
The Professor case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it?
Oh my god, it is happening.
Indeed it is, Iris.
10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital.
10 years ago?
Yes, at exactly the time that Barak von Zieks graduated from university, in fact.
What? Surely he's not saying...
Yeah.
So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life?
As you've surmised, it was the Professor case.
Who was this Professor, then?
Oh boy. Okay. Hello.
It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death.
And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Van Zieks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest.
What do you mean, Hurley?
Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy. Yes. Members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves through the country's administration. Members of the... wait, of course. What Professor Harebrained said. Lord Van Zieks is from a family with noble blood.
Oh, gosh!
It was the 5th victim that led to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint Van Zieks. Huh. Okay. Well, I think that just put a nail in the coffin of my stupid theory. Yeah, that portrait in Barak's office, that's not Herlock, it's Clint.
No. I don't believe it. Van Zieks?
I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Barak pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Van Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. As a waxwork exhibit.
I am afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well.
Oh, yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Well, shit. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. Huh? Oh!
It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Barak.
It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in a prison of all places.
I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Stinky. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen.
Tomorrow the court will decide.
Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident. A terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it.
I must warn you.
Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you?
Yes.
Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Barak, are you really...
What?
Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart.
My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else.
Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Barak.
Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court.
Well, that was nice. What a swell, upstanding man. Except for the racism.
To be continued. Right now.
This would have been a way better place to end things last video, but nah. Nah, dude, there was no way I could make another 20 minutes. Well, looking at the court record, we have nothing from the Wax Museum. It does not seem relevant in the slightest, but... yeah, I'm pretty damn sure we're going to posit that a statue was moved to... well... no, clearly Mr. Stinky was not the professor. Huh. So the missing wax statue couldn't have been a duplicate of him. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo.
Good morning, Professor Hairbrain.
I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me.
I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity.
Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure?
I think it's probably all in the mind.
Ah, yes, well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life! To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being public.
Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident.
Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail.
My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with a most tiresome case here? Who?
Ah, hey! Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to waken. Is it? Are you? Herlock Sholmes? Indeed, sir. I am he, Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah, yes. Rand's magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in the Adventures of Silver Blaze was wonderful. Silver Blaze?
Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall.
No, that was a speckled band. No, that was the speckled band.
Yeah, see, she knows.
Well, thank you for coming.
I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay.
Oh.
I have urgent business at Madame Two-Spell's.
You mean your waxwork job?
No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services.
Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you?
The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention.
Oh, well, never mind then. I understand.
Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description.
Oh, then you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley.
Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say.
I thought you were obsessed with, caramel. Oh, yes, quite. Definitely. Absolutely. I totally understand. Is someone a little starstruck?
I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrain.
Oh, why, thank you.
Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please.
What's this about?
As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite impossible.
But the professor said the demonstration was a success.
Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was.
I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically.
So he's completely barking up the wrong tree. But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Hurley. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo, but chin up. You can do it.
Yeah, I'm excited a bit because I'm hopeful that the jury will be filled to the brim with brand new characters. Although I would like to see Mr. Villain again. He's hilarious. Yeah, I was initially disappointed last time by the jury in the previous case, but then they explained that no, they went out of their way to try and get as many of the same jurors as possible because of, well, Sosuke's very unique situation. So this time, if it's adhering to that same logic, it should be a whole new cast. So, looking forward to that. Oh, what about you, Iris?
No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do.
I see.
It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. that sounds ominous.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once.
We're on our way. An experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. October 23rd, 9:10 a.m. Here we go. By God, I think that is everyone new. I think all 6 of those were new. Wow, that's cool.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrain. I now will call upon the counselors for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more, I'm without Susato-san today. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual?
So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Stinky.
Mr. Stinky was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities.
It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zieks. But the jury unanimously found him not guilty.
Because every member of the jury had been bribed, by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom.
But 2 days ago, on the 21st of October, Mr. Stinky met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it?
If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Stinky's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain.
Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. Oh, you're enjoying this way too much. A magician! I dig the eyeshadow. And the mustache. It looks like it's coming out of your nostrils. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Wow, so many wrinkles. This guy his art style is just so different.
Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang.
Oh my god. I'm reminded of that one juror's typewriter. You know, the one who would later go on to transition to Morse code? Oh, wow. We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and, then settle on one? That's it, isn't it? How old are you? Oh, so hey, it's the sleepyhead.
But wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
Sir, put down the gun. That's the police killer Automole look-alike again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems.
Well, hey,
Whole new cast. That's great.
now as I'm sure you are all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition, shortly after its opening.
Though the death toll could have been far worse. With the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators.
A tragic turn of events, and as such the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zieks.
At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world.
One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage.
The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis.
Good lord!
It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled.
Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking!
Uh-oh. She likes it, doesn't she? The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field. I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible.
What is the prosecution's view on the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused supercalifragilisticexpialidocious demonstration was a success.
What? What rot! Ordar! Ordar!
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would have been made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Stinky's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But... This disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Thank you, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
Gladly, my lord.
Oh, the cape comes off.
Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation. Halbert Harebrain, scientist. You were born in England but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct? Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, all right? An incredible explosion. But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. Whoa. What's with that curious bloodstain on his chest? Over his heart?
This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
That's right, my lord. Seems the victim rammed straight into it.
I see. Very well, submit the photograph as evidence.
It shows an apparent stab wound to the chest. Yeah, as I would think, I can't examine it, can I? It's just going to be the magnifying glass. So all the investigating's been done for me. God, that's some thick glass, though. Oh. Yeah, it was like, it looks like his head's on a cushion. That's because he's on the board he was strapped to. Yeah, these straps are on his shoulder. Yeah, this is... The entire platform he was attached to was launched over. Now that's interesting. As the courts heard, the victim in the incident was Mr. Stinky. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself.
I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct?
Exactly. But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right! That must be it! My splendid machine! My poor, splendid machine! You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What? The wreckage? The wreckage?
But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act?
Extremely simply, my lord.
I beg your pardon?
Isn't that right, witness? What? Sorry, me? No, your neighbor. Yes, sir. It was a murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. What? How can he possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder.
Speaking of sleepyheads, I'm getting sleepy myself. And I still need to edit this video. You better appreciate watching this the day it goes live. The corpse that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere,
and this fella's the only one who could have done it. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart. Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge. The coroner says death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. No, and no! That couldn't be further from the truth. I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. The victim stood himself inside something called the birdcage, ready to be beamed instantly. More like a Faraday cage. To the second level of the crystal tower, about 25 yards away. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair. Firmware subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the crystal tower's large round window. My word! One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower, then.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear it was just an accident. A terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart. Murder weapon? What are you saying? This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record.
Your request is granted, counsel.
Well, nice.
This is looking weird.
I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance.
And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Stinky was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Then, really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really. Very well. Counsel for the defense, proceed with that cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while. So, first things first, let's take a little look-see at the evidence. Let's see, the coroner was Courtney, Scythe? Okay. I can only think of a certain Courtney from a previous Ace Attorney game, but then that was a fan translation, so never know. Name Stinky, male, age 47, British, time of death October at 2:22 in the afternoon. Hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by a sharp implement. A broken vertebra most likely resulted from impact after a sudden fall from considerable height. But how was that even possible? His head does not extend past the wooden board, though wood would take the brunt of the impact. Like, if he fell perfectly angled downwards, I imagine he'd get two dislocated shoulders at the worst.
Unless there's like enough give in the shoulder straps that he'd slide upwards. Hard to say, it could go either way, honestly. I'm also looking for obvious details that were like, oh wow, that was there the whole time, but unless the glass becomes relevant later, I don't think so. Well, as the one person in charge of running this channel, I'm gonna make an executive decision. I'm gonna end things right here, 10 minutes early. Well, 9 minutes early now. Yeah, for me it's 12:20 a.m. I'm very tired, but I want to edit this video up and upload it so it can go live today, I guess it would be. And that's gonna take a while, and in fact, the shorter a video is, the faster it compiles and uploads and all that, so the sooner I end things, the better. Goodness, so this Clint Van Zieks, that must have been the elder brother that was murdered by the professor. I must say the game has been weirdly specific about not mentioning the name of the professor. Huh. Okay, that silence there was the sound of my brain frying. I'm tired. I'm Zephyr the Jester. This has been more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.